What's up, Las Vegas? I'm here with Ann Rose for quelling your query conundrum. I said it correct that time.
You got it.
Let's get into it. Take us away, Ann.
All right. Well, as if you have been watching, you know that this is actually recorded on the same day that we recorded the last one. So hence, again, we're wearing the same things and you're just going to have to go with it. And yeah, it's because I'm going to be taking a vacation and I'm going to a conference. And yeah, so on my vacation, I plan on becoming a potato. That's my, I know, that's what I told you.
That's right. We had this conversation.
So that's why we're doing all this now. So just roll with us. I'm going to, before we get started, because we already did this, but we didn't do this, but we are doing this. Thank you, everyone, for sending in your query letters, and please keep them coming. Lane is going to pop in down below the email of where you can send your query letters to, so you can have us take a peek at them and hopefully give you some perspective from our side and what we see when we read your letters. Now, obviously, we're taking a really in-depth deep dive of these things, and so it's probably more than what most agents are going to randomly think about when they get there, but hopefully it'll help you, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So again, I'm a terrible reader out loud. I'm going to do my best. This one does have some fantasy elements to it. So if I pronounce something incorrectly, my apologies. I'm doing the best I can. Okay. Dear blank, I'm excited to share with you my 65,000 word middle grade fantasy title. A fresh twist on Scottish fairy lore. This is the word that I'm not sure. Elfania? Elfania is a magical fairy world, but life is no fairy tale for 13-year-old unhoused fairy Jerden Silverwing, an exuberant, sometimes reckless actor performing plays on the city streets to survive. Ever since his grandfather died 5 years ago, he feels isolated, useless, and alone. Thankfully, Jaren, sorry, did I say Jared? Jaren has one amazing ally, Rubia, who is determined to protect her unruly best friend. But at night in his alley, he hides from the colonizing Seelie king who seeks to wipe out his kind, and he dreams of finding the missing parents he hopes are still alive. One fateful night, Jaren finds the shard of an enchanted theater mask the Seelies used to imprison his people's souls in stone. He realizes this could be his opportunity to make a difference, rescue his community, even find his parents. With the help of Rubia and his acting rules, Jaren dives into the ruins underground to solve riddles and steal missing shards in 3 days' time. As midnight approaches, Jaren is horrified to discover one of his parents is his enemy and Seelie blood runs in his veins. But when the Seelies capture Rubia to use in a deadly tournament, Jaren must embrace his full identity and perform a spell-breaking play with the Seelie actor to free his people and save his dearest friend, or the Seelies will seal him up in stone forever. This fast-paced, spell-binding fantasy features a diverse and inclusive cast and is filled with authentic tips for young actors. It combines the themes of the Skyborn series by Jessica Cowrie with the intricate world-building humor and magic of Avatar, The Last Airbender, and The Dragon Prince. Then we have the bio.
Avatar, The Last Airbender is Japanese?
I think so. I mean, I've seen some of it. I think that's what it comes from. Yes.
There is a lot in there, and Seelie. So is this the main character is a fairy, but not really because Seelies are the fairies? I know a little bit about Scottish and UK fairy stuff because I used to be obsessed with it. And I know Seelie are the good fairies and Unseelie are the bad fairies.
Yes, I that's my understanding, but now I'm going to look it up while we're, talking here. So
Okay. because we're talking about the fairy being 13. So they age, I suppose, like us. Is 13 too old for a middle grade?
I mean, it's definitely a tough spot. It's like right there on the cusp, right? Like, so it's like upper middle grade, not quite YA, but upper middle grade. But I think that the disconnect that I'm having here is that the way this character is described is sometimes reckless, a sometimes reckless actor performing plays on the city streets to survive. So that doesn't feel like something a middle grader has to, like, those aren't like situations a middle grader is dealing with. Those feel like more adult situations. Like, does he not have a home? Does he, I mean, because he's unhoused, so he doesn't have a home. So, and he has a friend, but like, is he only taking care of himself? Like, he has no adult figure in his life. So that puts him in his own adult kind of situations, because now he has to be the adult in his life, which kind of takes him out of being the middle grader a little bit. So, I mean, it could work in the context of the story, but I just wonder, like, are these middle grade struggles, or are these adult struggles of a middle grader? Does that, I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying, because the whole tournament thing sort of reminds me of the Hunger Games and all those other dystopian YA novels. So, I mean, 13 sounds like it's a teenager, and being Jewish, that's the bar, bat mitzvah, you're a man, you're a woman. So I don't know if I were to represent this, I would say age them down or age them up.
I mean, without reading the book, yeah, I feel like it does have to go one way or the other, or we have to kind of feel like there's a better setup for Jaren, because I'm not exactly sure what he's dealing with overall as his story. Like, is he the adult in his story, more or less, right? Like, so are these adult problems, and he's solving adult problems as a child? And will middle graders connect to that? I don't know. I don't know the answers to those questions because I haven't seen it, obviously. So those are just kind of the first questions that came to my mind right away. We want to go on to the next paragraph, I guess you would say.
Yes.
Because we were trying to break things down. So, you know, he has the friend. I think that one is pretty clear that he has this friend and he has to hide from the Seelie King, right? But I guess the other question is, like, if he has this friend, like, why does he not live with the friend and the friend's parents? Like, why are they allowing, I don't know, like, there's that kind of dynamic too. Like, if my son came to me and was like, hey mom, I have this friend, he's homeless, he's living in an alley, I'd be like, well, maybe we should talk about him coming and staying here for a little while if he needs some help, right? So yeah. Not quite sure the dynamic there. One fateful night, okay, this is where it gets tricky for me too. One fateful night, Jaren finds the shard of the enchanted theater mask of the Seelies used to imprison his people's souls in stone. Like, that's given us a ton of information, right?
And if he's a Seelie or his people, why isn't he in stone?
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of information given us right there. And also, how does he find it? Is this a coincidence that he finds it? Or, you know, what other thing happened in order for him to find something so important, right? Like, we like to say that coincidences can get you into problems, but coincidences should never get you out of problems, right? When you're storytelling, because it's just more interesting that way. So, I mean, that's an oversimplification, but still.
No, absolutely.
So I think that's kind of throwing a lot of information at us at once. He realizes his opportunity to make a difference and rescue his community, even find his parents. I'm not sure how that all comes together with that one sentence. Jaren divides the then Jaren dives into the ruins underground to solve riddles and steal the missing shards in 3 days' time. Love a ticking clock. Why is there a ticking clock?
I thought he had the shard, or is he looking for more shards?
I am assuming he's looking for more shards. Like, so this must be a piece of it. And I'm guessing he's going to look for more pieces to maybe put it together.
Okay. And not to be nitpicky, but when I hear shard, I think gem or glass. But if it's a mask, I guess it could be one of those old porcelain masks. I don't know if they're porcelain, but one of those old masks.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
the
that
word,
makes sense. See,
the
I'm the
word
stupid one.
no. The word shard wasn't the thing that threw me. Like, it says in 3 days time, like, and I love a good ticking clock, but I'm not exactly sure why there's a ticking clock. Like, why does he only have 3 days? Like, ticking clocks are great for conflict.
Why ask why?
Why? Well, you have to ask why. These are the
Yes,
questions.
absolutely.
So,
You're right.
and then we get to the last paragraph, as midnight approaches. So I'm guessing it's midnight on the third day. He finds out some information. I think maybe we're getting too much information here at the end, because this is kind of giving us some spoilers, which you should save your spoilers for your synopsis. And then, I don't know, he has to use in a deadly, I'm not exactly sure where we're going. Maybe it doesn't happen because now there's a deadly tournament. I think there's maybe just too much happening in this particular query to be able to see all of the connecting dots.
And remember last week, which was literally maybe 10 minutes ago, I mentioned this happens a lot with fantasy. There's so much world building. You don't know what to put in there. You don't know what's important enough to mention.
Exactly. So I think I would, if this was me and this is my story, I would kind of pull back and I would get down to those fundamental questions. Who is my main character? What are their goals? What is it that they want? What are their goals? What are the obstacles, right? Like, what are the things that are standing in the way? And then what happens if they fail? So, like, what are the stakes? So I'm not, it'll seal them all forever, which is great stakes. Like, I feel like the story has really strong stakes in it, but I'm just not seeing how those pieces, goals, obstacles, stakes, I'm not seeing the connections. Do you agree?
No, and I just want to say, don't beat yourself up too much, because when agents have to pitch fantasies, we run into the same problem. And I remember doing, I don't even remember which fantasy. I just remember poring over a fantasy pitch for days, rewriting, trying to figure out what's important, what's not. And it was a nightmare.
Right. I mean, and that actually that you say that, I think that's a good point, because I actually have a book where we have a middle grader who is on his own and living. I actually have it right here because I was talking about it today. So this book here, The Curious League of Detectives and Thieves, right? It starts off with John living in the ceiling of a museum, right? And so he's living on his own. He is an orphan and he's living on his own. And so it does work. So I could be completely overthinking what they are saying here in the opening of this query letter. So, but yeah, that one was also a little tough to pitch.
I bet fantasy is rough.
And that one's not like full out fantasy. There's just some little tweaks about the world, and there's talking monkey, so
Ooh.
If you like talking monkeys, I recommend it.
Yeah.
Eek, eek.
Is that what monkeys sound like?
You have to read the book to find out.
I don't want to have to read the book. I'll just look it up on YouTube.
You can. All right. So hopefully that was helpful. I don't know if that was helpful. I don't feel like we were as helpful on this one as we were the last one. I think you have a strong concept here. I think it sounds like a fun story. I think you have a ticking clock. You have obstacles for this character. You have stakes for this character. You have lots of things that are going on for this. I think that it's great. I think that the pieces aren't quite connecting all the way. I know I get a lot of middle grade, so I get a lot of stuff comp to Avatar. So that one is a little bit like you're setting the bar really, really high if you're going to comp to Avatar. So, and you're not the only one doing it. Tons of people comp to Avatar all the time. So it's something to think about. I would definitely look at the pages just to see what it's all about and just to see what the voice is like. So, but I generally look at pages. So I'm not sure. Would you look at the pages if this was your query and you took on middle grade fantasy, Lane?
I hate to say, I love fairies. I absolutely love fairies. So I may have requested the first three chapters and the synopsis just to see what the fairies are like, but otherwise, probably not, I hate to say. But I love fairies.
Because you don't request a synopsis.
I request the synopsis. Oh, you mean to begin with?
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I ask for a synopsis at the query stage. So
Interesting.
I do. So I get all the package information right there up front.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But that's a good point. So tip to authors, be prepared. Even if a agent doesn't ask for a synopsis, doesn't mean that they won't ask for a synopsis. So you're not necessarily doing yourself any favors just because you only query agents who don't ask for them, because they can come to you and ask for them. So you probably should have one ready anyway.
And not to be a jerk, but it irks me when I say, hey, send me the first 3 chapters and a synopsis. I'm excited. I want to read it. I want to see what happens. And people are like, I don't have one. And I'm like, oh, come on. And clients do it too. I'm just like, I want a synopsis. And they say, oh, well, read it. I'm like, listen, man, people are lazy. I'm lazy. We want to read. We want to know what happens, man. There's a lot of books to read.
There are a lot of books to read. I love that you just put it out there like, no, dude, I'm lazy. Like, I want to know exactly. And I mean, I guess there is some of that in there, but for me too, like, I want to see how you're lining up the dominoes as I'm reading. So I can see that, oh yeah, okay, there's these dominoes, there's this domino. I see what you're doing here. And then, so when you knock them all down, I'm like, brilliant. So that's why I do like a synopsis.
Makes sense.
So, all right. So that leaves us that's our second episode today of Quelling Your Query Conundrums with me and Rose. So like, subscribe, buy your best friend a coffee, and email us your queries. So if you have a conundrum, we can maybe try to help you answer it. I mean, maybe one thing we could do, like when you send in your queries, if you have specific questions too, you can just throw those in there.
Love that.
And then maybe we could be even more helpful to all you querying authors out there. So what do you think?
Yes, absolutely. Please.
All right. So Lane, you can be the screenshot for this episode. So do it. Come on. You should be the screenshot for this episode.
That screenshot right there. You pointing like, yep, there it is.
Okay, whatever.